Good morning and welcome to another episode of Monday Motivator on Facebook Live in the That's Ambitious members Facebook group. Great to see you here. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to spend some time with me. And as always, I just wish you a great start of the week. And that's what Monday Motivator is all about, getting the week off to a motivational start. And because I think there's nothing like intrinsic motivation to get us moving towards our goals. Today's topic is all about squirreling. And I lost my picture again. I don't know why the picture keeps cutting out on me, so I have to keep an eye on that. Anyway, so if you're just joining us, today's topic is about squirreling, and to that end, I actually have the 5 A's of anti-squirreling. And these are things that I've come up with over time. I think they're very useful and very helpful. And I trust that you'll get some good information out of this because it's fairly straightforward and fairly simple. Although, how many of you would agree, and you can of course write your responses in the Facebook group, how many of you would agree that people have challenges with squirreling and that we all have our intentions that we create, and we have many, many competing intentions, and we tend to, wait a second, squirrel. We tend to squirrel, and we do this often. And I would like to offer some solutions. Probably not the solution, but a solution that could potentially help you internalize a new script, a new behavior, a new set of rules to challenge yourself to keep from squirreling. So here we go. And there's 5 of them. Number 1. Whoops. I don't know why we're starting at 2. Number 1. Awareness. So that's the first step. Being continuously aware that you're doing it. If you're squirreling and you are not aware that you're actually doing it, there's very little that you can do about it. It's a habit, a potentially negative habit that we all fall into, that trap of what are we doing and are we staying the course? And if you're not aware that you're squirreling, then there's nothing you can do about it. So that's step 1. Be the silent watcher. Be the person who notices that it's happening, because no noticing, continuous happening. Step 2, acknowledge. I think Dr. Phil says it all the time. You can't change what you can't acknowledge. So once you become aware that you're squirreling, acknowledge that you can and will do something about it. Acknowledge that it's happening. Step 3, adjust. What is it that you adjust? And I would adjust your behavior, because squirreling is a behavior. It's one that negatively impacts your outcome, negatively impacts the results that you want to create, and of course keeps you from your targets. So adjust your behavior. And the type of behavior that it takes to adjust is a certain amount of deep commitment and self-discipline. Brian Clemmer always said that if you want something in life, it only takes 2 things to get it. One is a deeply committed attitude towards getting it. Be emotionally involved. And 2, repetition, repetition, repetition. But if you're continuously squirreling to something new shiny object, new book, new system, new mentor, new business idea, new this, new that, then that is negatively impacting the repetitiveness of the current task that you should be continuing to do. So step 4 is I'm going to offer up Agile. If you look back into the Agile project management system that we talk about in Agile Basics in That's Ambitious. So for those of you that have not gone through that program, it is called Agile Basics. It is in your members area of That's Ambitious. I highly recommend that you go through that program, because what it does is it separates your goals into tasks, into in progress, into complete, into next steps, and into celebration, and all the things that the Agile project management system does is a great behavioral modifier. It allows us to change our focus and shift our focus away from getting distracted and squirreling to a specific system that keeps us on track, on target, and puts things into bite-sized chunks that allows us to knock them off one at a time. So please review, or if you have not yet consumed Agile Basics in the That's Ambitious members area, please go do that as soon as possible, because that's the greatest behavioral change that you can count on. It's a system. Everything in life tends to be a system if you learn to embrace that. And then finally, be accountable. The concept of accountability is one which many of us do not have a self-accountability system. So we can rely on That's Ambitious members, for example, in the members group. If you find yourself squirreling, post in the That's Ambitious members group. It's a very safe group. It's a group that will not potentially judge your particular situation. Yeah, I think everything that is written, there's a certain amount of judgment that everybody has, but that's their stuff. That's not your stuff. Post something, most people, even though they may judge what you're posting, they'll still be helpful. And that's what That's Ambitious members group is all about. It's an accountability program. It helps us keep on track and move towards our targets. So let's do a quick review. 1, be aware that you're squirreling. 2, acknowledge that you have the ability to change. 3, adjust your behavior. That's the change, the behavioral change that you're looking for. Adopt the Agile project management system in order to keep on track and moving towards your target. And then finally, be accountable to yourself. And if you cannot do that, allow other people to help you be accountable. How many of you have had an accountability partner in the past? It's a great system. I'm sure that if you posted in the That's Ambitious members area that you need an accountability partner, I'm positive that someone would step up. And perhaps you may go through a couple of different accountability partners, but it happens to be a very good group that can help you keep on track. So that's today's short training on squirreling and the 5 A's of anti-squirreling. I hope that was valuable to you. I like breaking things down into measurable bite-sized chunks, and I think those 5 things are definitely helpful if you're willing to take a look at your squirreling, and perhaps it could help you. So that's today's Monday Motivator topic. Are there any questions about the topic or anything else that you'd like to discuss on this Monday, the 27th of July? So Andrew has a question about SPF and DKIM. Just waiting to hear what that's all about. And of course, any other questions are welcome. We are only about 9 minutes into our usual half hour. Andrew, Cloudflare, by the way, Cloudflare is something that was set up initially when your domain was being hosted by our hosting company. So we basically set up a Cloudflare account for you. And if you're now in the process of setting up SPF and DKIM, you will need access to Cloudflare. So I would suggest that we create your own Cloudflare account, and that if you're willing to do the work yourself and learn how to do that, I think it's important that everyone learn that so that your emails will reach their destinations. So let's go back and forth through email and see. I would just basically go to cloudflare.com and set up your own account. And then once that's set up, you can add georgezimble.com to your Cloudflare account. And it will probably tell you that it's already on Cloudflare, but we can delete it at that time. So we'll go back and forth by email and see if we can sort that out with you. Are there any other questions on today's motivator topic or anything else? So a quick question from Andrew on cPanel, and I've noticed that Andrew's questions tend to surround web design and hosting and all of those technical things because that's what you're currently in and using, and that's good because you're not squirreling, you're getting the job done, and that's important. You're not giving up when the technical challenges get tough. So what does cPanel do? So cPanel is a piece of software that sits between you and your web host. It allows you to access all of the different settings in the back end of your hosting company. And there's lots of settings, things like cron tasks, and you can get access to your databases, and you can create new databases. You can set up emails. You can add software. You can add software like WordPress to your website. So there's a lot of things that cPanel can do. Some things are more popular than others, but there is essentially a ton of apps in there for you to access how your website is interacting and sitting on the host. So it's basically software that controls how you configure your website. Also, another question by Andrew, would you have more than one Agile board? And the answer is probably not. You would have one per employee, and then you might have a general one for department. So one for an employee and then a general one for the entire department. So if you had a sales department and you had the big tasks on the big board for everyone, then those would be assigned to individuals and put in progress. That person then would take that and put it on their board in progress, but they also might separate it out into their own personal tasks. But essentially, as I look at my board here on the right, it's a list of different clients and then the current tasks that are in play and the ones that are currently in progress. So one Agile board per person is the answer to that question. Jillian asks, I'm having a challenge deciding how to allocate my time between have-to-dos and must-dos. I think that's actually both the same. So have-tos and must-dos are the same. I think the question might be want-tos versus have-tos. So obviously in everybody's, and this is a good question regarding squirreling, because most people will tackle their have-tos. The only problem with have-tos is that they tend to control you versus you choosing what you want to do. So even though there are some have-tos on the way to your want-tos, for example, you know that if you want to do or start a business and you want to market that business, there are some have-tos on the way to your want-tos. So you might not want to build a website, but you know you have to do it. And so you might hire somebody to do that. And a lot of the have-tos that you have to do can be delegated to other people if, of course, you have the resources to do that. Want-tos, on the other hand, are big goals. Those are the ones that are at the top of your vision board or your list of true heart's desires. So deciding between the two that's not really, I think, the question you could be asking. The question you could be asking is, how do I do more want-tos versus have-tos? So the have-tos, again, delegation. Obviously, scheduling would be a great thing for have-tos. But want-tos, on the other hand, are things that we tend to squirrel on. Those are the things that get left behind because we're so busy working in our businesses versus on it. So if you want to work on your business, that's a want to. What do we want to do? Where do we want to be? What do we want to be? What do we want to have? So prioritization over want-tos is essentially what we talked about today, the 5 A's of anti-squirreling. So I hope that helps you. Andrew says you have different projects on one Agile board. Yes, I have several projects on one Agile board. In fact, a project might be put into the tasks area, but it might be also put into the entire goals section. So a goal, which is a project, might be divided into tasks and then put in progress. So yes, I have different projects on one Agile board, and that board can actually be quite big. So Jillian says we have to get our home ready to list it, and it conflicts. Yeah, well, that's a have to. If you know that you have to get your home ready, then choose the things in that you want to do, and use the 5 A's of anti-squirreling, and that should help you significantly. Greg says, I had to take a phone call, so I'll review, and I'm hoping not asking a redundant question. I like what you said about adjust, and wondering about when to draw a line in the sand so you don't get stuck pursuing something that you are committed to but might not have results over time you desire due to market volatility or other factors. Sometimes one can be committed but still not be chasing something business case. Okay, so that's where the 3 resistances in a row rule comes in. I'm not exactly sure. I can just quickly check let me see if I can check. And I'll look in the weekly course material area and see if I can find 3 resistances. Helps if you spell it right. So this appears in 2 different areas. It appears in week 4, the turning point, and also week 20, Camino secrets. The 3 resistances in a row rule is something and that's the line in the sand that you're looking for. And Dr. Robert Anthony basically counsels over this, and his system is this. You pick a direction, in your case, a pursuit, a project, something that you're committed to, and you keep track of resistance. Resistance is anything negative that happens, a situation, a circumstance, any kind of negative activity that says, oh my God, this is terrible. I need to turn around and go back. 3 in a row, stop, reassess, use your intuition. If you choose to keep going, 1 more resistance, turn around and go back. You've picked the wrong direction. You've picked the wrong business case. So that's just a quick synopsis of what you'll find in week 20 in Camino Secrets and week 4 in the turning point. So 3 resistances in a row is a good one. Great. Hope that answers your question. Andrew says, if you have time to answer this, what is a Cron Job? Quickly. A Cron Job, or task, as they're sometimes labeled, is essentially a run this file at this specific time. So for example, if you go into cPanel, you'll find an area in there called Cron Job. And what you would do is you would set it to run sort of every minute of every day, of every week, of every month, of every year. And so every 1 minute, it would basically say, go run this file. And that file would likely be some type of PHP file. It could be an execution file or whatever. And basically, it's the cPanel software that says, go access that file and run it. And basically in there is a bunch of directives, and that file will run on schedule based on the schedule that you give it. Typically, for Groundhog, for example, it wants you to run the, hey Drimit, what file does the cron task run? It runs
main cron, WP cron.
yeah, thank you. It runs a file called WP cron. So in that file is basically a bunch of directives, and this cron task tells that WP cron.php file to run, and that's how Groundhog basically does its event queue. It says, hey, send out these bunch of emails, or move this person through the funnel. So that's what a cron task does. Hope that answers your question. Jillian got the answer to her question. Great. Greg wrote to Andrew. Thank you. Good answer. I should have just read that. A cron job is a process that's scheduled to run at a certain time on the server to complete a server-related task, such as running a routine, a batch file, updating a database. Beautiful. Excellent. Okay. Are there any other questions? I think we covered a lot of ground here today. I want to thank you for attending. And good. Andrew got the answer to his question. So I'd just like to point out, just before we go, if there aren't any other questions coming in, that you can find a copy of today's Facebook Live in the videos area of the That's Ambitious members group on Facebook. So all of the videos for That's Ambitious automatically get posted in there. And it's a good idea once in a while, they're not very long, is to go through the quick trainings. And I find them, some people find them certainly to be useful. And I certainly put effort and time and experience into each one, and I hope that they are valuable to you. So please go and review them when you can in the Facebook Live, in the Facebook That's Ambitious members group video area. And if there's no other questions, we got about 20 minutes or so into it. It's been a pleasure working with you today. I hope you have a fantastic week. Actually, hope has nothing to do with it. You will have a fantastic week if indeed you understand the 5 A's of anti-squirreling. And of course, as I was going through this topic, I can squirrel. Bye for now. Hey, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, go subscribe to the channel, and get out there and be ambitious.